My name is Amanda Walther. I am a professional musician and artist, and this is Talking Blues.
I know that you're interested in visual arts. You're a visual artist, but how much time are you spending on visual art these days?
I'm a trained visual artist, actually. I have more training in art than I do music, which is hilarious now that my career has taken me into the music world more than anything else. But I do graphic design now for a number of musicians. I've got into album artwork and design. I also create work just for myself, paintings and sculptures. I do upholstery a little bit now too. Wow. So I do a little bit of everything.
When you say do it for yourself, can you explain that a little more? Is it just you have no interest in making it commercial? It's just something you feel the need to do?
It's definitely a place of meditation for me. Visual art making and the creative space in that world for me has been very, very private and personal in how it feels to create. So it isn't something I ever imagined doing and then selling, although I have explored that a little bit, and I definitely have done some commissions over the years. But for me, it's an escape. It's a place where I can be quiet, and especially with making music and songwriting, I find the balance of creating visual art fuels my energy for creating music and vice versa. So it's taken me a while to learn that part of my creative process is doing a little bit of everything.
Do you find that because you're a visual artist, and I don't know in your mind if you consider yourself more as a visual artist than a songwriter or singer, but because of that background and also because you've studied it, do you find that your songwriting is more visual? Is it influenced by the visual side?
That's a really interesting question. I've never thought about that, but for sure, yes, definitely. I see music too. Like I see colors when I'm hear music, and there are certain songs that have a visual identity for me beyond even the story. But especially lately especially with my work in songwriting with Dizzy and Faye, there are definitely pictures. I've become lyrically, I write from a place of seeing it first.
Interesting. Is it different? I mean, I don't know how you're writing songs for yourself. You're writing songs with Mark. You're creating visual art. How do you schedule the time? Like, what inspires you to say today I'm going to work on a piece of art, on sculpture or whatever?
That's a good question too. I guess it was partly deadlines. So I definitely have things in the calendar that help give some sort of a structure, and I have some things that need being done immediately or have a certain deadline attached to them. But for a lot of that space that I allow to exist in between deadlines, I kind of let my motivation tell me what I need to work on.
And is that like you wake up and you think, oh, I want to do this?
Yeah, it's like being in touch with your feelings. It's like knowing what parts of your body need to be worked on. Like, oh, I need to like go for a walk. My legs are stiff. Or it's very similar, but in a creative sense. So, oh, do I feel like I'm angry and I need some like musical element to like jolt me out of it or to express this feeling, or I feel like I need some quiet time, so I'll go in and do some painting or drawing, or it's like listening to you, getting really tuned into my creativity and what my heart is needing in the moment.
Okay, so let's say you wake up and think, I need to paint something.
Yeah.
That would be very different than me asking you to paint something, commission you to paint something.
Yes.
Tell me about that difference and how you approach those two different ideas. And again, it could be songwriting too, in that you could write a song that you're inspired by, or you could write a song because somebody told you, could you do this, like you did with your the movie work, the soundtrack work.
Yeah, that was really interesting. Yeah, commissions or artwork that has a specific purpose that's not your own uh, definitely requires, for me, it requires a lot of percolation time. So I'd say the majority of the time I spend on pieces like that are not the doing at all. They're absorbing and processing, and that can take quite a bit of time because for me, I could just start on it, given their brief and just dive right in. But generally, I find I am anxious. I have anxiety around commissions, and so I need to work through that anxiety a little bit before I'm able to jump in. Typically, it's interesting. It's a different space altogether.
Does that anxiety exist on your own stuff? Does that ever happen?
No, not typically, not in the same way. It might exist when I hit a stumbling block in the process, but it's less anxiety and more, or at least perhaps it was at some point, but now I've learned, I know myself better, and so I realize stumbling blocks they're just art saying you're going too fast. You need to slow down. And so sometimes you have to put it on the back burner of the stove and let it simmer on its own for a little while and don't pay attention to it, and then know that there's work happening on it underneath it all.
Sometimes when I'm editing, and it would be usually an assignment that I need to do, um, I get frustrated with myself, or I go through a self-loathing
Yeah.
phase. I just go, this is not good. I'm not good enough. Blah blah blah. Do you go through
Oh
that?
yeah, for sure. And more, it's funny, more so with art than with music. I definitely have a process of really feeling down on myself. Like every piece I create, there's this arc of like, oh, I love it. I'm feeling really inspired. I'm motivated. And then I make it. I was like, oh no, this is terrible. I'm awful. Why did I even do this? Why does someone want me to make this thing? And then it's in a way, I feel like I've learned that frustration is growth, and it means I'm creating something. I'm doing something I've never done before, or I am expressing a part of myself I've never let out, and it comes from growth, and it's almost always a good sign for me. So,
Interesting. Let's go back. I understand you came from a musical family. Your dad played guitar. I know that music was in the house all the time, but you never considered yourself to become a musician.
yeah.
So I'm curious about how that happened, but tell me about growing up with music around you.
Yeah, it's very natural in my family to come together and sing. It's how we celebrate. That's how we kind of are together. And a lot of that is my dad, who's just so musical. He was a teacher in his profession, but music is definitely his meaning on this planet. Like he even taught his students how to play instruments during recess. Like he is a born musician. It flows through him. And he used to just constantly be playing his guitar and working on a new song. And then he was kind of this musical heartbeat of my family. It would bring us all together and in community, and we would sing together. We have a whole bunch of really amazing English, Irish traditional songs, and some really bad country songs, and now a whole bunch of other new music, because as the family has grown and expanded, we've all picked up instruments and brought in different influences, and we still sing together and play together, and as an extended family, 30 of
Wow.
us sitting around the living room jamming. And I kind of just, it was second nature, and I'm sure that's part of the reason why I discounted it as a pursuit outside of my family life. And also, in a way, I think it was so precious to me and private and personal because it was so tied to my family life that I didn't really consider doing anything beyond that. And I suppose too, I have a bit of stage fright. I don't really like the spotlight. And so it took me a while to get comfortable being on stage.
See, I read or heard about that, and I just find that amazing that, I mean, having to deal with stage fright is, it's got to be difficult. And I know musicians who just find it impossible. So to overcome that, And I don't know what makes one overcome that, except for maybe the love of music. But to say I'm going to go up on stage and I'm scared shitless right now, I don't know what that's going to be like. And to be able to do that is, I mean, when you felt that anxiety, did it disappear after the first song, second song? Is that how it worked, or was it always there initially?
It was there for longer when initially, for sure. I it I first sang in front of people in high school, and the first music I ever sang was jazz. It was with the jazz band in high school, and I just loved singing so much that the music and the desire to sing with an actual band, like I thought, this is my chance to actually sing some of my favorite songs with a real band. Like, this is so exciting. That's what kind of gave me the courage to get up and sing in front of people. But I was shaking the whole time, and I would only do one song at a time, so there was no time to get comfortable. I was never comfortable in high school. I was terrified, start to finish.
Now, is that when your dad recommended "Dream a Little Dream with Me"? Is that
Yeah,
the song?
around that time, yeah, when I was
But that wasn't the song you sang.
no, the first song I
Okay.
sang in front of people with the jazz band was "I've Got You Under My Skin." So just a little ditty, no pressure, just being compared to Frank Sinatra consistently.
And then how did it go?
It was great. It went really well. I had a blast. I mean, despite the fear and terror, I felt like there was a sense of coming home in singing and sharing that with people, and it definitely resonated. Like, yeah, it was great.
Wow. But it wasn't enough for you to think, oh, I want to do this all the time.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine living in that state of terror forever.
But you
But
did,
I did.
in a way.
Yes.
And you did because you met Sheila. Is that the proper way? I mean, I presume that's the reason why this all happened.
100%. Yes. Sheila, and writing with Sheila and singing with Sheila, and even just the act of collaboration with somebody is kind of what got me over myself enough to work through those feelings. And I loved writing with Sheila so much. Kind of feel like we're soulmates in a way, like we were meant to find each other, meant to walk this life together, and we and like just felt this freedom when we would write together, and it gave us the courage to do something that we were both a little too self-critical to do on our own. But it's funny how you can celebrate a song you've written with someone a little easier than you can if it's solely your own.
I don't know what it was like the first time you sang together, but having heard you sing together, I mean, it's pretty magical the way your voices fit one another. Can you remember that moment when you first sang? And I don't know if it was in the school hallway or at somebody's house, but when you harmonized and thought, wow, this sounds good.
Yeah, totally. It was in the hallways at school, and the stairwells had really great reverb, so we would go into the stairwells between class, and I loved Sheila's voice. She has this beautiful, rich, velvety alto, and I also loved that she would hold the melody so with such strength. And I've always been a natural harmonizer. I love harmonizing so much. And so it was my dream to have someone to sing with, and our voices meshed immediately, and our personalities. We were best friends, so it was just such a thrill.
And then you decide, okay, let's start playing together. Let's start writing together. What was that like to start writing together?
It was really fun. It was electric. I was 20, I guess, when we started writing together, and she was still in high school because she's a couple years younger than me, and I had graduated. I was already starting at OCAD, and for some reason, she started playing guitar before me, and I was just learning so that we could write songs.
You were playing the piano
I
before.
was playing the piano before, yeah. There was always a piano in the house, so any melodies I would write or songs I would begin crafting were on the piano. Until started playing guitar, or she had a brother, all her brothers play guitars, both her brothers and her dad. So she came from this very guitar-centered family, and she started playing, and it inspired me to learn. And so I picked up my guitar and we started writing.
But at that point, it's still just a hobby. You have no designs of making this a career.
No, I was on my way to being an art teacher, and I was at school for it and everything.
And so what changed?
We were we were approached by somebody who heard us when we had this cool opportunity to record at some of our songs at CBC Studios because our friends were at Travis Institute
Oh,
learning production and engineering and things, and so they needed a band to record, and we were the lucky ones that got to record some of our tunes. And Mike Roth, our now manager, came into the studio, was brought into the studio to hear a few of these songs by the instructor. And he had just left Sony and he was looking to create his own company and work with new artists. And he heard what we were writing and saw the potential, I guess, that we weren't really seeing at the time and asked us if we would consider working with him.
and was it like, yeah? Or was it like, oh, I don't know about
It
this?
was we were very cautious because we were both in university pursuing, more traditional lines of work, and we didn't know anyone other than my brother, who was a touring musician internationally. I didn't know anyone in the Toronto music industry at the time, really. And so I was scared. I was intimidated for sure about the idea, but ultimately we thought, the universe doesn't open doors like this very often, and he's an incredibly open and generous person, and we felt very comfortable with him, and so we thought, we should at least give this a try and see what happens.
And you still have a relationship with him,
We do. Yeah.
don't you? Yeah.
Yeah, he's been with us every step of the way.
That's amazing. Did you hear what he heard, you think? Like when you were in the studio, what did you think about what you were recording and how you sounded?
I knew it was special. I definitely knew it was special. I didn't know. I think because I'm so afraid of the stage side of things, I wasn't sure how it would translate, into something bigger than what it was. So I was definitely naive, but I just knew that I liked it.
I'm still amazed at how you can overcome that. So obviously Sheila knows that you have some anxieties about this.
Yes, I actually have gotten really good about it. So I I have worked through a lot of that stage fright and don't really experience it anymore unless I have to perform alone. And then that doesn't happen very often, so I still have some work to do on that one.
But initially, when you're made this offer,
Mhm.
and then they're thinking, well, you should maybe think about quitting school and making this a professional thing. Like, that's a big hurdle to
It
overcome.
was a giant hurdle. Yeah, I was before we met Mike, actually, just before we had met Mike, um, Sheila decided she was gonna pursue music and
Oh,
or more. Like she really wanted to put more energy into it and put herself out there and asked me if I would as well. And I said no because I was so terrified. And then literally days later, the universe introduces us to Mike and he asks us again. He's like, I see this thing between the two of you. This is really important. And so Sheila's like, come on, let's do this. and and I said yes. The universe sometimes has to give me a couple of nudges for me to get over
but
myself.
but having not dreamt about doing this or thought about seriously pursuing music, did you know what to expect?
No, I was
Did Mike outline what he had envisioned for the two of you?
not in any specific way. He just it was his vision was very valuable. He saw that we could hone our craft together and really make something special and internationally, recognized. And he was incredible at guiding us through the process. But he knew me well enough not to like lay it all out too obviously. Yeah, he was really good with letting us develop kind of on our own terms and not pushing us too much.
Am I correct to assume that was around 2002? Is that?
Yes, yeah, that's
And then 3 years later, you release a record under Mike's label, and then you get a record contract
yes.
from a major label
Hmm.
and release another album. Tell me about those 3 years. Did they go by fast, or How did you feel about like? Did it seem like a long time, or did the 3 years just fly by for you?
They kind of felt fast to me, but there's so many great memories in there. So the first step in working with Mike, Sheila was in Kingston, actually away at school. So it was mostly me going up to Mike's studio and recording and writing and just kind of getting comfortable in that universe. And then Sheila would bus in every few weekends, and we'd have some writing sessions. And he was just getting to know him and his family, his beautiful family, and recording in his home studio. Just kind of, he made us feel very comfortable and trying different things and getting better at guitar. And yeah, it was a really fun and creative time, and we were still in school. He was really good. He was like, you don't have to quit school, just still do your thing. And we're like, okay.
But in your mind, how was school? What did school feel like at this point? Like, are you thinking, I'm still focused on becoming a teacher, I'm still focused on art, or are you thinking, God, I'm in music now, I'm gonna focus on that? Like, I don't know how you balance the two.
I actually thrived in that moment of like having them both. I Yeah, it was an exciting time for me. I liked having both, and I was still planning to finish my degree. However, when it started building up, and the time commitment was getting greater and greater, it was clear that it school was preventing me from investing the time that I thought was warranted in music. So I did leave school right at the end. I think I was a semester or two away from getting my degree, which is comical. But I always thought, well, I'll finish it later if I need to. And I mean, to be honest, I was at OCAD and I was offered a full-time job in the arts already around that same time. And it made me very aware of the fact that most jobs in the arts that I was interested in doing didn't require me to finish my degree. So it was a very fascinating learning process as well. But yeah, then we worked with Mike, and he introduced us to a number of different folks in the industry, and it was kind of fast. It felt very fast.
Can I ask you, at that point, once again, not thinking this is my dream from a young age, but also being given this opportunity, what did you think you needed to work on other than your stage fright? But, like, obviously, your voices worked really, really well together, but that's probably not enough. So, did the songwriting come really easy to you?
Yes, together we were writing a lot of songs together, and I feel like we were getting better with everyone. So we knew we had growth that needed to happen in our songwriting. Definitely with our instruments, we needed to get more comfortable and confident. We had sat on the floor and played when Mike first met us, and so there was a moment in our career that we remember. We used to always sit on chairs and face each other on stage. And there was a moment where we had to actually stand up and play, and it was our first time opening on a Canada Day show where Tom Cochrane was the headliner, and we just had to stand up. There was no question. It was time to get off the floor and actually, raise ourselves and stand like every other musician. And that was a huge turning point. So learning to bring some confidence into our performance was really important. That was something we needed to work on for sure.
What did that tour with Tom Cochrane do for you?
Oh my gosh, that was incredible. That was a gift. Every single person on that tour was amazing. And they each came up to us individually and pulled us aside and said, if anyone gives you any trouble, you let me know. They were incredible guys. All guys and then just us. But it was a huge learning curve. So we had never toured before, and we were on this tour bus with 10 men, and it was like the full squeezed into this 12 sleeper bus. So I'm sure they were thrilled. There were they lost their 2 free bunks because of us. Yeah, that really gave us confidence. especially playing with someone of his caliber, like such an incredible artist like Tom, and he was open to us and treated us with such respect and was so encouraging. He really, really made a difference in terms of our confidence. And it also meant that we got to play in front of so many people on these big, beautiful stages that were not our audience. You know, they were his audience. And so there was this element of like, okay, we got to win them over. We got 15, 20 minutes to make them love us. How are we going to do this? And it meant we had to have a bit more grit, and we had to have a bit more, like, take up more space and find that confidence. And yeah, we totally did.
But how quickly do you learn that? Or how quickly do you say, oh, we got to change our show? We got to do it different? Because 15, 20 minutes isn't a lot.
No.
Unless you have stage fright, and then it's a long time. But it's a short period of time to win them over. And I don't know how you know what to do to win them over in such a short time.
It's pretty instinctive. I mean, you definitely have to read people fast. You know, we kind of had a sense based on his music, and we were singing backup with him too, kind of the energy of the show. And so in the rehearsals leading up to the first night, we had a really good idea of like which songs would probably go over best that we had written, that we were going to bring to the table. And then after you do that first show, you can feel the energy coming back from you when something is resonating. And now I can articulate that intuitive feeling we had where we would make adjustments and things like that. It's really just connection. And there's so much connection happening with music. It's an emotional connection with the audience. And you can feel when it's connecting, and you can feel when it isn't. And so we would follow our instincts on the songs that seemed to be connecting with the audience more than others. And in some ways, I think it probably affected our songwriting. You know, we probably wanted to, and I know this has happened with every tour we've been on when we're playing for audiences that aren't our own. It encourages us to fill out our catalog a little bit more so that we have songs to draw on that will connect with different kinds of people. And so it was really great at teaching us to expand our songwriting too.
I mean, it's not an easy task to be an opener for a major artist like Tom Cochrane or whoever, when most of the people bought the tickets to see them. And I've been to concerts where the opening act won the crowd over and those that didn't.
Yeah.
So did you walk away from that tour thinking, I think we made new fans?
Definitely. Yeah, we still have people come out and say that they saw us on that first tour. And we could feel it. You know, his fans would come up at the end of the show and they were really positive, and it was a good warm-up. You know, I felt like it was a good warm-up for his show too, just because there was more overlap with him and his songwriting than we expected, you know, and especially with the album that he was promoting at the time. A lot of those songs were very personal and about his family, and that's often our starting point too, and where we're writing from. And so, yeah, it was great. And we just connected with Tom. He was really wonderful to us and has been ever since.
What did you learn from that experience of playing in a bigger format?
It's funny, you know, the thing I took away from those sizes of audiences in those theaters was that, I mean, it was a gift because we had come from playing loud bars and things like that where you're really fighting for people's attention. You're not really fighting for their attention as much. So I found it like easier. So I know that's a weird thing to say, but we found with larger audiences, there was more we could do, you know, and I felt like we had more tools in our tool belt in terms of dynamics and ways to pull them in. We weren't fighting as much.
Did you automatically come away thinking that's what we want to do?
Oh, yeah.
Those are
Yeah, we wanted to play those stages again. They were fun.
Not too long after you got picked up to tour with the Vinyl Cafe, Stuart McLean. Tell me about what that experience was like and what it did for you.
That was an incredibly beautiful experience in so many ways. And as far as our career, that was such a huge catapult forward for us. I think simply because Stuart's audience was our audience. A lot of it was really the type of people that would go on to be our long-term fans. A lot of them saw us at the Vinyl Cafe tours. And also the people. We just really connected with a lot of the folks in the Vinyl Cafe community and kept in touch over the years and learned a lot. We learned a lot from Stuart and from, the way that they kind of held themselves as a team, and how they watching him craft his stories and work on them with Jess side stage, and watching his process of like taking feedback from others but also from the audience and honing his craft as a writer. That was such a gift to be able to see behind the curtain and to see what this expert writer does and what that process looks like. It was a magical time.
And such a unique situation. Like, unlike, I mean, there might be one or two other examples, but there really isn't that many things that are comparable to the Vinyl Cafe.
Yeah, he and Jess and the team, they really created this very unique experience that really connected with so much of Canada. Like, I listened to the Vinyl Cafe before we ever went on tour with him. And in fact, we met him before we were considered for the tour. The year that we decided to quit school, that September, we went down and busked on Queen Street to raise money for Hurricane Katrina on the first day of school. And,
Wow.
or not school, the first day of not school. And he rode by on his bike, listened for a minute, and then threw in a $10 bill into our guitar case, and then went off. And actually came back a couple minutes later because he needed change. So he gave us all of his cash, and he forgot he needed to buy something, so he came back. But Sheila didn't recognize his voice, and I had never seen a picture of him. I had only heard his voice growing up, and I was immediately starstruck. And she was like, "Who is that? Why are you so weird?" And I was like, "That's Stuart McLean."
So how did you get that gig? Does that have anything to do with you winding up on that tour?
I don't know if it does. I think it was kind of one of those like serendipitous things where we were at the point in building in our career and kind of growing our name in the folk community in Canada, and so we had become I guess they had become aware of us, the producers of the show, and so we were contenders for the tour anyways. But then I think once we met Stuart, they kind of tried us out. We were a fill-in band for a show in Barrie, I think, for a smaller event, and we were it was just a couple of songs, and they met us that first night, and we told Stuart about the story of meeting him on the street, and then he remembered us. He's like, "Of course." And so that might have been like the tipping point for deciding to invite us out on tour, but it was a combination of a number of things for sure.
Okay, so all of a sudden you signed to a major label, these opportunities are happening. You're working a lot, probably close to 2010. I think I don't know if I read this properly, but you were on the road for like 300 days that year. Is that possible?
I think around.
I can't believe everything I read,
No,
so I don't
no.
know. But
I think at one point I added it up one of those years, and it was just over 200 days of being on the road. Yeah.
which is still like significant.
Oh.
Tell me about that adjustment. I mean, you're thinking you're going to be an art teacher, and then all of a sudden you're never home.
Yep.
And did that like gradually change so it was just it all felt comfortable? Like I can't imagine being on the road for 200 days.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot for me. But it was gradual. So both of those things, both of those angles feel they resonate with me. Yeah, it was a slower transition. It got busier and busier, kind of like a train speeding up. And so you don't feel it. You don't feel it too much. But you definitely notice life passing you by. You definitely feel the loss of friendships that you just can't maintain anymore, missing family events, just not even like catching up, always catching up. Every relationship was an element of just catching up with everybody. Nobody was really a consistent person in our lives anymore. And
And so what's that like?
yeah.
I mean, obviously you're pursuing this thing and I don't know if you're sitting there going, yes, this is for the good cause. We need to do this. And by doing months at a time on the road, it will get us to the place where we want to go? Or do you think, oh my God, I'm missing so much and I'm getting tired and I want to sleep in my own bed?
Yeah, it was hard to balance. I found the balance difficult because I'm such a connected person with my family, and luckily I have an incredible family and incredible friends and chosen family that have always never put pressure on me in that very busy time, and were so patient and encouraging. So I don't know that it would have felt as possible without having that support from home. And I had an incredible partner who was so great at being patient and supportive. And actually, a big part of why I was able to maintain a relationship for that whole difficult time was because I would write letters. I would write letters home instead of calling.
What is this thing you call letters?
Yes. I know. Even at the time, it was seen as an ancient craft.
Because when you think about the idea, so there you are in Fargo, North Dakota
Yeah.
or something, and you write, and it doesn't get there for, what, a week?
Yeah, but I highly recommend it for traveling musicians still because, as I described it, as we were diving into why it worked so well for us rather than phone calls, we call once in a blue moon, but certainly not regularly. And that is an unusual thing. Most touring musicians call their spouses or partners, regularly. But for us, letter writing really helped because it didn't ignore the distance and it didn't pretend that we were actually part of each other's day-to-day life, which always felt a little uncomfortable, to be honest. When we try to connect over the phone, it was like, well, I'm not there, so I can't help. And I can be an ear, but I can't help you with day-to-day stuff. And you can't help me with mine, and I'm busy and you're busy. And you never know when you're going to make that call, if it's a good time for you. It's not often a good time for them. But with letter writing, it would be in those quiet moments where I'm fully present and the words I would write would come true from the heart, and they weren't colored by anything else that was happening. It was when I had a moment to really feel my love for that person, and my partner felt the same, that they would read this letter in a moment. It might not be right when they get home from work, but when they have a quiet moment at their best, they're reading that letter. And so it meant that our interactions were all at our best point. And yeah, it really helped keep us positive. It kept our connections positive and in really good spaces, which was helpful.
I have to ask, though, does your partner write letters back to you? And if so, how does it get to you?
Once in a blue moon, he would anticipate where I was going to be and send it to the hotel or something, but generally not. Generally, it was a one-sided conversation.
Or who knows, there might be many letters in hotel rooms that you missed.
Perhaps, yeah, perhaps I just missed by a day, and there's these collections of love letters, but he has boxes. He has a couple of boxes of these letters now, so.
Oh, that's lovely. So you go through this really, really busy period, and I think it lasts for a number of years, and you're on the road constantly. Does it give you what you hoped that it would give you from a career point of view? And did you know what that was?
Yeah, that's a good question and a hard question. I think at the time we were hoping to hit a point where we would make some sort of financial, to hit a financial marker where we could have more balance. So we were shooting for a level that would allow us to have our cake and eat it too. To not.
Do you know what that is? Is there a quantifiable thing that says if we reach this, we can do that?
Yeah, it was more like being able to, I'd have to crunch the numbers, but essentially make enough so that we don't have to tour, make double kind of what we ended up getting to, so that we could tour half the time and actually be at home. But so much of creating and maintaining and connecting, building an audience involves investment, and so we were going so hard because We were always trying to break new ground into new cities and new communities. And what I have learned looking back is, and what we did afterwards, was we maintained the place. We stopped investing in new, and we just kept investing in the communities we had already connected with. And that's actually how you get there, because you can build the audience. Investment costs a lot, and
Right.
that's where it really made it difficult, because we were in such a growth point and we were touring full time. So it was a lot, and we thought we'd get to that point. And so there was some disappointment that we didn't get as high as we were hoping with the amount of touring we were doing. But what's funny is we were super successful when it came to what it actually takes to build and maintain and grow an audience. And we were very successful at connecting with people in a way that has allowed us longevity with our audience. Like, our audience has been with us from the start, and they are still with us, even though we're not touring 200 days of the year anymore. And it is so incredibly meaningful and has sustained our careers going forward. So that work was definitely worth it. It was definitely worth it.
And I guess it's hard to see when you're in the middle of it, right?
Yes.
And also to know about longevity because you're still there. Like, you don't know about going forward if they're going to be around or not.
100%. And actually, and for a lot of artists who build very quickly and aren't maintaining connection, like emotional connection with their audiences, you can just lose an audience really quickly. If they weren't with you, really with you, if those were, and I've found this in a more practical sense from a marketing side, like, a lot of people we had a massive email list through our record company at the time, but that was through promotional efforts, paid efforts. Those aren't the people that are still with us. Almost all of those emails from that section of collection did not retain. We lost pretty much all of them. The folks that are on our email list now that are communicating with us, coming out to shows, those are the people that saw us in person when we were on the road, that came out and had an emotional connection with us and are still with us now. They didn't see us on TV or see us in through some sort of media that we were lucky enough to get. So it's funny, like, you can get a flash in the pan, but then it does dissipate really quickly. Whereas if you really build connections with real human beings in person, nothing outmatches that in terms of longevity.
Do you, at one point, you decide, we want to do 200 days a year. We need to cut back. I need a life. Was that a difficult decision?
That was really hard. There were a lot of tears involved. And for me, the catalyst was wanting to have a family. So I knew that I did not want to bring my family life on the road with me. And so in order to have a child and start trying to have a child, I had to kind of slow the train down. But it meant I had to tell my entire team I was thinking of trying before, like a year and a half before it actually happened. So it was a funny process.
How did Sheila take the news? I mean, she probably knew, but...
Yeah, well, she was the first person I spoke to about it, and she knew it was coming, but it was really hard. It was a hard for both of us, but especially Sheila, because it wasn't her choice. There's a lot of grief in feeling like, because we weren't sure what the future looked like because of it, and we had been taught that, if you stop touring full time, you're going to lose everything, which is not true. But we didn't know that at the time, and so we were preparing to say goodbye, if that's what happened. But luckily, it didn't.
So when did you realize it didn't happen? That you had audience that were going to follow you forever?
Yeah, in those first few years after having my son, I also said yes to doing more art. The space in my life allowed me to pursue lots of other things. And it was clear, like, when we had time and space to perform as Dalla, people were still coming out. We were still doing those our favorite shows in the States, or those shows that we had always gone back to, like Elgin, Illinois, and in the Northeast U.S. there were a couple of venues we'd consistently go back to in those following years. Do a weekend trip down to, or we went down to Florida, and I was still nursing, and I remember having to like, pump in the hotel room and all this stuff. So, we still kept working. Just only what we did was we cut the investment shows and the filler shows. So we pared it down to the communities and cities that we knew that we could do kind of larger shows in.
And what did that do for your own need to perform and play? Like, did that satisfy it?
It was great. It was such a lovely feeling to have a life at home and then leave and go on vacation from life to work. But it felt lighter. It felt like it wasn't as heavy. We had definitely burned out at the end of those few heavy years of touring, and it was such a delight to return to performing with the same levity that we had when we first started writing together. So in a way, it was a new life, and it gave us new appreciation for what we had the chance to do.
You said you also gave you the opportunity to do some more art, but did you continually write songs?
Yes, actually, I was writing a lot around that time. I started doing a writing game that my friend Matt the electrician, he's an artist out of Austin, that he runs via email with a number of professional songwriters, and we all have 1 week to write a song based on a title he sends out. And they're all due Wednesdays at midnight, and and you do this for weeks on end, and it was an incredibly helpful process for me to just keep my muscles worked and keep me writing. And it was great.
Wow. Okay, so a few years later, you wind up working on a new project with Mark.
Yeah.
Dizzy and Faye. I always think of it, which is it, Dizzy and Faye, Faye and Dizzy? Anyway, so how did that come about?
That was really fun, and it was a surprising moment in my life because I had always wanted to sing jazz. I love jazz so much, and those classes.
This is where you started.
It's where it all began for me. And I love those songs. And I kind of moved through my life as a writer. My appreciation for the writing of the American Songbook songs has grown exponentially. I feel like they are, for me, the top of the bar. I can't imagine there being a more elegant, beautiful way of writing. Like, the standards are just so high. And I had just this little thing I wanted to do. It was a bucket list thing. I wanted to sing some jazz songs that I deeply adore. And I had told Sheila this, and so she knew I was kind of on the lookout for someone to work with on this project. And I think it must have been hearing Mark perform with his trio, and they invited Dalla on to be guests on his show in St. Catharines, and so I really got a wider sense of what he does in his writing and things like that. And so then the next time we were on tour with John McDermott and Mark was in the band, we were side stage, and I said to Sheila, I was like, oh man, I think maybe Mark would be a good person to work with on this. And unbeknownst to me, she blurted it out to Mark. She was like, Amanda wants you to produce her jazz album. And I was just like, oh my God. Like, I was not ready at all. It may never have happened. So luckily I have a best friend who knows me well enough to give me the nudge when I need it. But yeah, it's all Sheila's fault.
How did you hook up with the John McDermott's band? How did that happen?
We were on a Gordon Lightfoot tribute show with him that Jory Nash had run for many years. And he heard our renditions of Lightfoot songs in that performance and immediately connected and asked us if we'd ever want to come on his show. So we said yes.
Wow.
So, okay.
So you present this idea to Mark, and Mark says yes.
Yeah.
But is he thinking at that point? Is it just a solo album of you singing jazz standards?
Yeah, he was. We were just kind of going through this collection of songs that I have had since I was younger that I really loved, and we started rehearsing and working through them. And he's so good at following his gut. And I remember at one point he's like, "Well, do you have anything? He's like, do you have any original things?" And I said, "Oh, I kind of have this one thing that I was working on," and so we tried playing that song that I had been working on together, and he says now after the fact that he heard me sing my own words, and it was like an epiphany. I was like, no, she needs to be singing originals, because apparently there's this life that comes through when it's my own work that just isn't the same with covers. So that was the impetus for us to kind of dive in and write together.
But how do you like? You still have this itching to do the jazz standards, and all of a sudden he's making you write your own.
Yeah. We've never done it, actually. It's so funny. We haven't, as Dizzy and Faye, we've never performed covers at all. We only perform our own songs now. So I guess at some point I'll have to record those songs.
So, if you're thinking that these American standards are the cream of the crop, the most amazing things, how easy is it for you to write material like that?
It's not easy. I mean, it came out. I feel like the collaboration with Mark was key. He brings to the writing such a depth of musical knowledge, but also just his instincts are so amazing. And I'm very much a songwriter for melody, and so I often will come up with ideas constantly. So melody's never been my problem, but giving it that depth and character, and working with Mark has just been incredible. And I feel like, yeah, it's definitely something I wouldn't have been able to do on my own, and I feel like the combination of our skills and the way that what we bring to the table has allowed us to kind of reach for that height.
One of the songs, I don't know how many songs are on the latest album that was actually performed with the City of Prague Philharmonic. I don't know how that works, but I know that they're a very busy orchestra who do a lot of recordings, and a lot of recordings from Canadians as well.
Yeah.
But tell me about that experience.
That was amazing. That was incredibly amazing. I was in tears the whole time. So it was virtual. We recorded them virtually. And on the session, so I was there via my computer and watching the session happen. And Mark was there with Drew Dureka as well, who did a number of the orchestrations. And our engineer, Bailey, John Bailey. And it was watching this happen. So I obviously was just sitting back and watching this whole thing because I wasn't.
So, but you initially record something with Mark. Is that the way it works? That
Yes.
You record I don't even know if it's a bed track, but the piano and vocal track.
Yes. Yeah, we did the bed track for Hooked. Did all the bed tracks with the four of us, actually. So we had invited Rich Moore on bass and Davide Dorenzo on drums into the studio, and the four of us did all the bed tracks for most of the songs. And I think there were 2 or 3 that were just myself and Mark. And we recorded all the bed tracks, and then did the orchestrations after.
Okay, so you're sitting there listening to the orchestra.
Yeah.
And then some of the tunes, the orchestra comes in before the band.
Yeah.
I know this, for me, it's like hard to imagine how this all works. But tell me about witnessing this experience.
It was incredible. It was so moving. I have imagined music. I have written songs that I heard strings on, that I wanted to hear this. I had always desired to hear these songs filled out in this way, and to actually see it happening and to hear it happening in the moment, like I was weeping. I was fully weeping the whole time. I was just so
But
moved.
was Mark weeping?
No, he was totally composed. He was fine. He's done this before.
Would you ever consider doing a big band thing?
Oh, that would be a delight. That would be so fun. And I'd love, Mark and I have talked about, doing a live orchestra version of a show so that we could see, because a lot of these songs have really big personalities. They really need the full orchestra.
Okay, so last year, at some point in the fall or winter, one of your songs, There You Are in My Heart, got over 1 million downloads or views.
Yeah.
And I wrote to Mark and I said, how does that happen? And he didn't know. Do you have any theories on this? But he said he loves all his songs like this, his children.
Yeah, that sounds like him. I do and I don't. So there was definitely it started happening in June of 2025, and the song was released in November 2022. So this is years after it had been out in the world, which contradicts what every music marketer will tell you, that you have to push in the first 6 months, otherwise it won't go anywhere. I mean, you
Right.
never know what can happen once something's out in the world. But clearly, and this is only on YouTube, YouTube Music is the platform where this song totally took off. And it's because the algorithm connected it with a lot of songwriters from Asia. So South Korea, a number of artists from South Korea are on this playlist that really got it going, and a number of other kind of jazz, pop, and songwriter, intimate storytelling type songs. So this aesthetic that we are definitely close to. And so for some reason it just connected with these other artists, and most of the views have come from Asia. So South Korea, Japan, Thailand, Taiwan. Yeah, they've really connected with this song, which is so cool.
It's a beautiful song.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it.
So obviously this little project that was going to be a recording of jazz standards turned into something else. Are you happy with the way it turned out?
I'm ecstatic. Yeah. It's one of those things as an artist, you learn to kind of follow this invisible thread that pulls you in different directions, and trust that feeling, that intuition. Literally all of our songs come from that intuition. All of our entire careers come from listening to your gut, And I've gotten good at listening to it. And I knew when I heard Mark, I was like, yep, I think I'm supposed to work with him. And then as we started working, I was like, yep, no, I need to leave those standards. There's something here that needs to be made. We need to make these things together. I don't know what they are, but we need to be working together. And so you just have to listen to those feelings. It's like you just got to go with it. You have no idea what's coming, and you got to just go with it. And all my favorite things have come from following those feelings.
Added to that is the fact you've done a children's album with WW Club.
Yes.
You've also done some solo stuff. We should go soon, but I would need to talk to you about that movie that you worked on, Walk With Me.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that movie and that experience.
That was amazing. The director approached me early in the process. I think she had one actor read the script, but that was it, and I was the second person to read the script. She invited me into the project as a songwriter, to write songs for one of the main characters in the film, who's a songwriter. And she heard about me through working. She'd worked with my brother, who's a musician and producer, but also they went to grade school together. So there was a connection from our childhood, which was really interesting. But she had apparently listened to a number of Dallas songs while she was writing the script, and so part of the story, I'm sure, was shaped a little bit by that, because one of the main protagonists in the movie is a singer-songwriter who tours. And so I said yes to working on this project, even though I was absolutely terrified. I think this is a theme in my life is to like run into the fear, don't let fear dictate what I say yes and no to. And I'm so glad.
Have you ever regretted that decision?
Never,
Wow.
not yet.
So we go back to what I asked you in the very beginning, which is now you're writing not for yourself, but it's almost like commissioned work.
Yeah.
But it's something different because now it's a movie. And what was that like to write for a movie with specific instructions, I presume? Not real precise, but in general terms. Tell me about that experience.
That was fascinating. It was such a cool experience because a lot of the writing for that was in character. I was writing from someone else's perspective and not just for someone else. It wasn't a commission for someone, but it was like really like acting kind of. And the Isabel Del Rosario, the director and writer, kind of talks about the character of Logan as being represented by myself and the actor Bridget Barkin in a way. Yeah, it was. I wasn't sure if I could do it, which is probably where the fear came from. But I did. I expanded and stretched and found that voice inside me, tried to be Logan writing these songs. And yeah, it was incredibly rewarding work. I loved it so much.
And you won some awards for it, which is pretty amazing. I mean, not I shouldn't say it's pretty
I
amazing. I
thought
mean,
it was
it's well
pretty.
deserved, but
I too was
but
blown away.
but for a first time project, a soundtrack, or I don't even know if it's not really a soundtrack, but to do film work like that and to actually win a couple awards is incredible.
It was such an honor and a testament to Isabel's leadership. The film itself won a number of awards in different categories, and Isabel was such an incredibly warm and collaborative director. She had a vision, she was strong with what she wanted, but also left so much space for us to bring our own inspiration and creativity that I just felt it was such a nurturing process. It was so incredible.
So I've heard you say that you're at a point where you kind of let the universe dictate what comes next, which I find really fascinating. But tell me what comes next. What are you working on?
I set little small goals for myself, so I'm definitely trying to carve out more space for visual arts for sure. And I have been. So this last year I've done
But this is for yourself or this is for the world?
for myself. I have pictures in my head from many years of touring and just lots. I've been distilling for years and years and years. And so I feel like there's something coming and I don't know what it is, but there's something in there I've been gathering pictures for. So definitely that. And it's actually an exciting time for Dalla right now because we have been writing new songs together, and especially Sheila has been writing some incredible pieces, some of my favorite work she's ever done. And we are recording a new album.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is a new birth. 14 years after our last album, we've decided to release new music. So, yeah.
Is it just the need to release and make new music, or what makes this like why are you doing this?
Yeah, good question. I don't feel any pressure to do things because it's what you should do anymore. It's not because we need to record music. It is because these songs need to be shared. And we really want these songs to be companions for people. And we have felt like it has been in the last year, I think, that some of these songs have been crafted, and there's an urgency that we can feel. We feel they're needed for someone. We don't know what that looks like, but we feel like it's kind of our duty to get them out.
And will you shop this around, or would you release it on your own?
We'll release it on our own. Yeah, I don't know what'll happen, but we don't have any vision beyond sharing them on our own terms.
And then, is there a need to tour behind this, or you would just do that slower pace?
Slower pace has brought our best work. And actually, since we came off the road full time and started filling our lives with other things, our songwriting has gotten better, our performing has gotten better, everything has gotten better because of it. And so we're not willing to give that up again.
And you're also doing some dates with Mark?
Yes, yeah, Dizzy and Faye is still rolling. We're almost more dates with Dizzy and Faye than Della these days. It's great. We're heading across Ontario, and next year we're going back out west, which will be really fun. So, yeah.
So, obviously you've gotten over the fear, but how do you feel about performing live these days?
I feel great about it. Yeah, I definitely... I faced that fear head on and worked.
I mean, do you sit there sometimes on stage and go, I can't, I don't know why I was so scared of this?
I'm very comfortable there now. There's a sense of home now, I think, because it's so familiar. I've learned to find comfort in it.
Except when you perform on your own.
Except when I perform on my own.
Which you do, but not very often.
No, that was last year's goal. 2025 was to say yes to solo performing as much as I could, and I'm glad it's over. I did it. I got better at it. I felt more comfortable with myself. I see myself as a solo performer and what I bring to an audience. And I see my value, and now I can let that go.
Did it. Check.
Check.
Amanda, this was a real pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this. It took a little while, but when we finally connected, it was well worth it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This has been such a pleasure.